Before we know who Miss Universe Philippines 2025 is, let's talk about their interviews. My name is Dani. If you like watching pageant commentary like this, please consider subscribing and hitting that notifications bell. In this episode, I'm going to share with you some of my standout interviews and then also a couple interviews that really were impactful, interviews that I think that all contestants can learn from. So before I get into my favorites, I need to say something in this episode, and that is a message for all of my contestants out there that are preparing for a pageant, that are competing, because I know that the idea of going into an interview can be a little bit intimidating. It can be nerve-wracking if you've never done something like this before. I love that this organization shares these interviews so that you can see it's not so scary. The judges generally are not asking anything too crazy in that interview, nothing that you shouldn't have already been prepared to speak about. But one question that every contestant was asked this year is, why should you be the next Miss Universe Philippines? And whenever I coach contestants, I actually encourage them that question, the why should you win question, should be the number one question that you prioritize when you are preparing for a pageant. It is often the most challenging question to answer for many contestants, myself included back when I was competing. But it is the most important and essential, and it will be the game changer in your interview. So overall in these interviews, I was a bit disappointed when I heard some of the contestants' answers because they were so generic. I would encourage you to go watch all of these for yourself to see what I'm talking about. Although contestants were saying beautiful things, we weren't actually hearing why them specifically should be the one selected as the title holder. Ladies, you have to give them a reason beyond fluff. You have to share with the judges what it is about you that makes you so special, that makes you the most deserving, that makes you the most qualified. That is so important, and that's what I was missing in a lot of these interviews. Unfortunately, a lot of the contestants would just say something like, I should be picked because I would like to be inspiring, because I want to show everyone that when you pursue your biggest dreams that they can come true, that they can become your reality. And that's lovely to say. There's nothing wrong with saying that, ladies, but it does not make you unique, and it does not prove to me as a judge why I'm picking you and not somebody else who's maybe has a better interview outfit. Maybe I like her hair and makeup more. Maybe I just like her walk more. You know, don't let it come down to beauty, ladies. Let a competition come down to qualifications, things that you have control over. Now let's get into it. Oriental Mindoro, I don't know what she said because she spoke in Tagalog, so I'll just quickly mention she just looked really confident. I loved her during the competition for onstage performances, so I'm hoping this interview went well for her. Her delivery seemed excellent. Tarlac I want to mention because I just want to see her come back. I do feel like she's a little bit young. I feel like she has so much potential for growth, but I just want to mention a couple things I really liked about her. She talked about how she is a farm girl, that she's always led this simpler life. She shared about how she was bullied because of her skin condition, but she was raised that it was a unique trait and that it should not be an insecurity. Yes, we need more parents like that are encouraging our youth. She says that she can share that message with other children about their own insecurities. And I like that. They asked, why you? And she says, because she has the heart of gratitude and humility, and she knows what her core values are in life. But then she got cut off. And if this happens to you contestants, even though if there's a bell or a buzzer or whatever, she immediately stopped speaking. When that happened to other contestants, they wrapped up their final thought. So just know you are allowed to do that. You are allowed to wrap up your final thought. I do feel like that would have hurt her because she didn't get that last bit of her answer in, but that's something she can learn for other competitions. Caloocan, I really liked this interview. I thought this was a great overall thing. So they asked her, where do you find joy? And she talked about how she sings, and that was lovely. She also mentioned how at only 16 years old, she flew to the US, and that's when she started her pursuit of working in Silicon Valley. Then the judges asked her what was a more difficult move, moving from the Philippines to the US or the US back to the Philippines to compete for Miss Universe Philippines. And she said it was really difficult actually coming back because she gave up her job. She gave up her job because her job was saying, we're not going to hold this place for you if you go and win this pageant. And I was like, wow, wow, that is a commitment. And I love that. I love when contestants are all in on their dreams, and it's definitely attractive. And then they said, why should you win? And she says she would love to be the embodiment of what Filipinos can do. Yes, she talked about how she's an engineer and she's a queen, and that she wants to show these young girls you can be both, and that she hopes that this is going to inspire them to shine in their own way, to be in pursuit of all the things that they love. Camarines Norte. So she's one of our contestants who's actually from Australia. And as an American, I always enjoy the Australian accent. So that was lovely. It was interesting. She shared about how competing has really challenged her. She said she grew up in a household where they spoke Korean, but she lived in Australia. And when she came to the Philippines, she had this feeling of not being Filipina enough. But she also shared that this opportunity has given her a chance to embrace her Filipino roots, which was this added bonus of the experience for her. They also asked her about how she has shared that she has borderline personality disorder. She talked about how regardless of her diagnosis, that she really makes an effort to show up, that she makes an effort and goes that extra mile to be joyful. They asked her why she wants to win, and she said, candidly, because I want to do good in this world. She shared about her love for the Filipino people, and she says that she knows that this platform has the ability to change other people's lives in a positive way. I want to say overall with her interview, I think what stood out the most was the way that she carried herself and how joyful that she really was. And I was like, I mean, who wouldn't want a very happy title holder, right? So I feel like that reflected so well on her. Cebu City shared a fun fact. She said that she's only been angry one time in her life, and she attributes this to her Lolo, who taught her to be slow to anger. She also was asked about when she was younger, when she was hospitalized for an illness, and she says that she realized from that experience that she has been given a second chance, and that second chance is to help other people. And then she shared in her answer why she wants to win that she is an empath, and it's difficult for her to watch things on social media and watch sad things in the world, and that she works really hard not to get discouraged by those things, but then instead she chooses to change the things that she can. And it was beautiful. I mean, you really felt like you were getting to know her as a person. Las Piñas, I liked her look in her interview. I also feel like she was very confident. It was just more of like the way that she carried herself that I think was really attractive. Now, she did talk about how like a personal trait of hers that she's very easygoing, and I like that. And then she says that she knows she should win because she's a great storyteller, and it's important to share the stories of the Filipino people, not just by talking though, but also by taking action. Bago City. Yellow looked great on her, even the judges noticed that. And I don't think that your interview outfit is a make or break thing, but you just want to wear something that is going to make you feel confident and look your personal best. So go with what looks good on you. What I liked about her is that you could tell how she was very relaxed. Maybe she wasn't inside, but that's what was coming across, and it looked great. Like, one of the things that judges are considering is how do you fare in high pressure situations? Okay, do you look like you're gonna have a meltdown? Not good. So she was doing well on that front. She also made mention that she recognizes how important international connections are as a Filipina. And yes, they really are if you want to be Miss Universe Philippines, and ideally if you want to be Miss Universe. One question that I liked that the judges were asking a few of the ladies was, who is your favorite like Filipina title holder? And she mentioned Arbany Gabriel. And I like this connection because she said that she relates to Arbany because she's lived in the US and she likes how Arbany can represent both. And she feels like that's actually why Arbany is flourishing, is because she was able to kind of draw in those audiences of US and Filipinos and garner support from both. And she can see, and I agree with her, how Arbany is thriving in the Philippines. Like, Arbany is being embraced there, and I love that about her. You can see what a hardworking queen she is. I think she's just like just an incredible Miss Universe. So great example there. And then they asked her, why should you win? And I like how she said, you know, she shared with them what her focus would be, like what she is passionate about, and that is inclusivity and diversity. So she's going to be sharing messages about that if she were to be selected. And then she also mentioned that she happens to be the first representative of Bago City. So I think that's really cool too, that it gives the judges some perspective of, you know, oh, this is somebody that if we choose her, she's going to be new, she's going to be fresh. This is something different that we're going to see for the organization. Lucena City, one of our contestants from Australia, also just very wonderful to listen to her. She has an interesting story. She's actually a female economist, and so she's working in this male-dominated field. She says it's important to represent the power of Filipino women. She also says that she loves Arbany as her favorite title holder, and that she got to meet Arbany at the PINA event. And then they asked her why you should win, and she says because she can represent Filipinas on an international stage, and she would love to work with government organizations to ignite transformative change so that all together we can unite change. So I think it's really important that she is using being a title holder not born and raised in the Philippines as an asset rather than a weakness, because she's saying I'm able to bring this international appeal. I have a greater understanding of what being a Filipino really means to people all over the world because I'm able to bring my international experiences to the table. Basai was interesting. She talked about how she's studying finance and that eventually she wants to create her own foundation by using this knowledge. Other fun things about her is that she talked about how she believes that she can inspire youth. She's pretty young, and she says that something her and her mom have liked to do is bake, and they ended up creating their own ube brownie mix, and then this grew into a small business, which I thought was really cool. Like she's already using her financial skills there, and they asked her why you should win, and then she says because she's always had a mission and that God has created a path for her. So one thing I wish she would have addressed is what is this mission that she's on? Like, I need to know more about those specifics. I needed to hear that. But overall, she came across as just very intelligent. She's talking about the skills that she has, her experiences, and how she's using them and applying them, and I like that. It's just this example of her taking action when she wants to accomplish something. She also looked really great. She's done good on stage too. Bohol, I think, had a good overall interview. I think definitely enough to advance if you consider her on-stage performances as well. She talked about how she grew up in the US, and the judges were asking, well, what could you share about those who believe that growing up in the US means that you live a charmed life? And I love that she shared the reality of it, of growing up in the US, because I do think that a lot of people who aren't born here have this idea that, you know, America is the country of dreams, and in many ways, yes, it is. But it doesn't mean that it comes easy to anybody, to anybody, whether you immigrate here or you are an American. It's gonna take work. You can grow, but it's gonna take a lot. And she talked about how she was like, it was not a charmed life. I started working when I was 16, and she says that she had to pay for a lot of expensive things in the US. I think that's what people forget. Yes, you can make more, but also cost of living is significantly more expensive, especially in states like she lived in California. And then they asked her, why should you win? And I like this. She said that she was a blank canvas and she wants to learn. She also knows how to embrace changes, and that's why she knows she's the woman for the job. And yes, organizations do not want to crown title holders that are difficult to work with. They do not want the queens that think they know absolutely everything. Yes, they want the queen that is confident in herself, authentic and self-assured, but you don't want that queen that's so stuck in her own ways that she is unwilling to take any advice or any constructive criticisms. That title holder is difficult to work with. So I'm glad that she brought this up. I think that's a great reflection on her. Isabella, I really liked. She says that out of all the title holders that she admires Chelsea the most, and she says that she stays grounded knowing that God has greater plans for her. She also shared about her dad passing and that he would be so proud of her trying her best in this competition, giving her all, and that he would see that. And then she was getting a little teary here, and I was like, so am I. And then they asked her why you should win, and she says she believes that even if you come from nothing, you can have faith. She's ready to win not just the crown, but to bring the heart of the Philippines to the universe. A lot of wonderful, very heartfelt moments in this interview. Definitely made her likable. I liked her. I think she should be moving on. Iloilo City just comes into the room exuding so much joy and such a pleasant energy. I really liked her. So she was very, very happy, seemed very sweet, and very sincere in all of her answers. She actually was going to school for law, and then she got to share about how she went down a different career path because she felt led by God to do so, and she is now an artist. The judge also asked about her suit, and she got to share that she actually hand painted her suit, which was so beautiful on her. She looked absolutely lovely. lovely. She also let them know that going to Northern Samar was her favorite event of the pageant. They were asking quite a few contestants about that. She shared about her experience being the only one to go scuba diving on that trip, which sounds really fun. And then they asked her why she should win. And she says that ever since she was a child, she could see the colors of the universe every time she closed her eyes. The universe is what she has been painting, and with her art and with the crown, she wants to make an impact in that way. Now, I didn't say it the way she did. You need to go watch her interview. It was so beautifully said, but I would say it felt very sincere. She felt very led to be in this position, and I think that was beautiful. Kidding no. What really stood out for me about her interview overall is the way that she carries herself, the way that she speaks. It was very attractive, very mature, just so good. She talked about being a medical scientist, love that. She also shared, because they were asking the contestants about love above all, and she says that that's what we need internationally. She wants to be this example of Filipino excellence, which I feel like she already is. And I feel like when I listened to this interview, like the ending of her interview was really strong when she talked about that, being the example of Filipino excellence. And I do feel like as an outsider looking in, that is something that Filipinos value, is showcasing their excellence to the world. And I feel like that is something that they look for in a title holder, somebody that is not just a beauty queen but has something more to offer, and she does. Occidental Mindoro is so beautiful. I do, however, wish that for interview she'd had lighter makeup. I just thought that the makeup looked more evening than like interview. She talked about how she has a lot of male family members and that this experience has been so great because she gets all these sisters. When they asked her what people should experience in her province, she says that they should experience living like indigenous people and that you can actually do that where she lives. They asked her why she should win. She talked about being excited that she has more to offer. She called it out. She said, yes, I'm young, but my heart is mature enough to inspire others. She says she knows she's already inspiring other young women and that the perfect time to go after your dreams is when your heart says that you're ready. And I like this. I like this point because I can tell you, working as a coach, that a lot of my young contestants get really nervous about being at the bottom of an age division, and they're like, oh no, is this going to be something that counts against me? It doesn't have to. And in the same respect, my older contestants worry, oh no, I'm at the top of the age division. Will this count against me? It doesn't have to. If you have the qualities of a title holder, your age is not going to count against you. Age isn't something that judges are taking into consideration unless it is reflective negatively on you. So let's say we have a much younger contestant and she comes across as very immature in the interview, then then age could reflect very negatively. But I like that she just calls it out. She's like, I'm young, but I'm ready for this opportunity. Davao, first of all, loved this suit. Loved it. She looked stunning. And they asked her if there was a new documentary, a second documentary about Miss Universe Philippines, what would the tagline be? And I love what she chose. She said prestigious. Because it is. She also said that she thinks that they did a good job with the other Netflix documentary. She just wishes that we would have heard more stories of more contestants in that documentary. Then they asked her about why it took her so long to join Miss Universe Philippines, and she shared the story about how she says, I was already a successful model. That's what I do. And I like this. She's like, look, in a way, I didn't really think I needed this. But then she talked about her mom was the one that was like, you know what, I think you should try this. And then she says that this ended up, she realized like, wait, I do have more growth inside of me. There are other opportunities that I could go for. And I just like that she was very real about that. And then they said, why should you win? And she says, well, I know I'm the next Miss Universe Philippines. Very confidently. If you're gonna say something like that, by the way, in the interview, it cannot be fake, it cannot be rehearsed. It has to really come from a place of like 100% unwavering confidence, because if you say that line and you don't really feel that way, it's not gonna go well for you. But I believed her. And she says that she believes she represents what a Filipina is. She wants to bring Filipino stories as a force for good and to be a transformational leader. So the one thing about her is that yes, she's a professional model. You can tell she's smart. She's been doing her homework, and she threw in those little bits of branding that relates to the organization that I think a lot of the times it'll tell judges, okay, well, she's making an effort. She's paying attention to this organization, and she wants to prove to us that she is a Miss Universe Philippines title holder. Lapu-Lapu, a surprise for me here. So she talked about how she's been competing in pageants since she was a child. She talked about having 3 brothers, but that this pageant has been the opportunity for her to have sisters. And I love that. She talked about her love of journaling, and when they asked her why she should win, she says she has nothing to lose because she grew up underprivileged. She learned from her hardships, and then she shared that 2 weeks ago her mom had passed, but she is still standing here, standing in the room, standing strong, and that is what makes someone a Miss Universe, is overcoming their challenges. I am crying and crying and crying through all of these interviews. These women are incredible. Nueva Ecija, she's 34. She also shared that she is the oldest in the competition this year. I didn't know that. She says she's back to empower people to believe that anything's possible. That's why she's returning. I also really loved how in this interview, she was so relaxed. She was so comfortable. We were just having a good, like, I wasn't there, but I just felt like we were having a girl chat. And that is a really, really great quality here. She also mentioned how supportive her husband is of this journey, that's been really wonderful for her, and that she believes it's time for Miss Universe to reflect inclusivity. She also mentioned that there's a few other contestants that fit that bill. And I like that. I like that she's just like, yeah, this is, it is what it is. There's a few of us here. She shared that she's proud of who she is, and she believes her experiences have brought her to this moment, and that she wants to use this platform for good. So I think that what stood out most with me for her is just the way she carried herself. I do think that there were more unique answers from other contestants, but it was just like, she just made everybody feel so comfortable. She made me feel comfortable. I'm thousands of miles away. Samar Island, I really liked her. She talked about how her faith has gotten her this far in life. Also, white looks really great on her. She's so pretty. You could see, and she said it, she was a little bit nervous, but even though she was nervous, she was still very happy. She was still very excited about things, and she mentioned that. And she says that love above all to her means that our purpose is to touch people's hearts. And when they asked her, why should we pick you? She says, I am a hopeful dreamer. I was 7 years old when I promised myself that I'd conquer the universe. I'll inspire people, especially children. And let me just say, what stood out about her is the conviction she had when she told them why she should win. You could tell, you could see that journey back to that 7-year-old girl in her face. You could see that she made those big promises to herself. Now, it's tough being Miss Universe Philippines. It's competitive. It's going to be difficult. It's meant for somebody. If it's not meant for her this year, I'd love to see her come back, because if that seed has been planted in you, if that's meant for you, it won't miss you. So this just makes me hope for her that that's meant for her at some point. Romblon, really pretty suit that she was wearing here. She talked about how living in Romblon is really peaceful, and I was like, well, girl, if you want me to come visit, say less, okay? It was lovely. She also talked about this story where she shared that she put her dreams on hold. She didn't graduate college because instead she focused on caring for her siblings. So now she is at Miss Universe Philippines for her dreams. They asked her why you, and she said she represents the strength of being a Filipina. She represents the true Filipina power. She started this journey without wealth, without support. But she wants people to know that power comes from who you are and not what you have. Yes, these are the type of title holders I want. Muntinlupa, one of my faves throughout the competition. She talked about how she has a family, and that when eligibility rules were opened up for mothers, divorced women, that she realized that this was her sign to come back. And I love that. And she felt that she can be a representation of mothers who are fighting for their dreams. She talked about how growing up, her parents were a politician and an actor, and they instilled the values in her, though, to be grounded always. When they asked her, why should you win? She says, I felt the spark. Your dream doesn't have to end when your life changes, but it will evolve. She says, I am a testament of that, and I am not just an inclusivity pick. She says, I am strong, and I believe the universe is ready for a mother. You know what? I love that she called it out. I love that. It just really positively reflects on her and the type of title holder that we would get if you were to select her. I like that she's just going to call things as it is. And to me, I was like, that's an appealing quality in a title holder. So I've been a big fan of her. I think this was a great interview. Malaya Klon, so interesting. Born in Bangkok, raised in China, moved to the US, now in the Philippines. So interesting. She talked about how she learned discipline in China, independence in the US, but warmth of the Filipino people. I love this. 1 month before the competition, though, unfortunately, she shared that she lost her mom to cancer. And when she got the invite for the pageant, she promised her mom she would do it. And so her being there is this promise kept to her mom. They asked her why she should win. And she says that Filipinos throughout their history have faced challenges, but they have always fought and found light in their darkness. That's what she's doing. She's turning her pain into purpose, and that she is not just a Filipina, but she is for Filipinos. Once again, get in my heart. Tacloban City really got me. Okay, she's one of our moms in the competition. She talked about her son and that she would tell her son not to give up on his dreams. She says that she came alone on this journey and that she had to let go of her career for this opportunity. If you don't know, these ladies put their lives on pause for this because it's a huge opportunity. She says that she's doing this for people whose dreams are put on hold because of their responsibilities. And I felt like her interview was getting better and better and better and better. She's beautiful. She has also done very well on stage. Now they asked her why you should win. And she says, I embody the spirit of a Filipina, a person who is nurturing and has a heart. I carry the stories and the strength of every woman whose dreams were put on hold because of their responsibilities. I want everyone to know motherhood isn't a limitation, it's a strength, and that dreams don't stop when our responsibilities begin. And I believe that the crown shouldn't just be worn on the head, it should live in the heart. This right here. Ladies, if you are a mother competing in the Miss Universe organization, please don't tell me that you should win because you're a mother. Give me more of a reason why. You're not the only mother anymore competing. You won't be the first, so why you? And I love that her mission here is to share that message that dreams don't stop when our responsibilities begin. I love that she's saying, I want to be able to be this example that motherhood, it's a strength, it's not a weakness that we have. Yes, 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 she came in, she has a message, she has a mission. This was excellent. Baguette, first of all, white looks so great on her. Love this. Loved it on her for gown too. Beautiful. I think she had a lot of good variety in her interview. So they were asking about her fondest memories. She was talking about, things that had happened to her when she was a little girl. She also talked about a Filipina that she admires is a police general because she's broken stereotypes. Then they asked her why you should win. And I literally started crying. She shared that her mother is in her 70s. She related her answer a bit to where she comes from, and she said that she believes that our dreams should be as high as the mountains of her region. She also mentioned that her mother is 74, and at this time, she cannot yet provide financially for her mother, but she knows that certain financial opportunities will come about if you are Miss Universe Philippines. She teared up and she says that a part of why she wants to win, a big part of it, is to help financially support her mother. I need to take a little break. That is such an honest and sincere answer, and I totally feel that, totally relate with her on that, and I love hearing the actual honest answers. She didn't go in there and just say, oh, I want to be a role model, I want to be a leader in the community, which of course you do, like those are all wonderful things, but I love the really real answer of, look, I want to be able to help my aging mother. And I'm like, and I want you to be able to help your aging mother too. You look beautiful, you're doing a great job, and now you get my vote for that because you were honest. Kizon Province, first of all, beautiful shade of yellow on her. Yellow is so popular this year, so popular, but it's also like the trending color though, right? Butter yellow, okay, such a thing. She shared about how ever since she was young, she's had this entrepreneurial spirit. She was very comfortable in this interview. Oh my gosh, she was just like talking to these judges like they're old friends, and that's the vibe you want to bring into your interview, okay? So that, first of all, fantastic. Then I will say that she has a really genuine smile, and then I think she talked about some very real stuff in there. She mentioned how she had never met her biological father, that she's spoken to him, and that for so long it did affect her, but that now she's grown and she feels like she's been able to better manage that because in the past it made her feel like, am I the reason that he left? And that is such a sad consequence of when any parent leaves a child and isn't a part of their life. But it was like just such a real side of her. She also shared how she started competing in pageants when she was only 10 years old, and that she did this to help get her through school and help to support her family, and that it would be a great representation, if she were to win, of going after your dreams no matter what people say to you, and that it doesn't matter where you came from, like what you're able and what you can accomplish because of that, even if you're starting very young. She talked about basically this being a really, really big and long journey for her. And once again, I'm tearing up. Okay, I'm tearing up in these interviews because you could really feel her saying that, like when she was sharing her story. Sinaloa and Laguna, very smart. When she gave her little intro of her name and her title, she also decided to say, you know what, I'm gonna tell them a couple things about me, a couple of fun facts. I don't even have to ask. She took the initiative. Brilliant. So she talked about how she is a workaholic, that her friends know that about her. And she says that kind of her motto is fun can wait. And she believes in delayed gratification. And I was like, okay. Also, I love the dress that she was wearing. I actually saved that exact dress on Instagram for some of my clients. So it's a great pick. You can see how determined she is. She talked about she grounds herself by staying steadfast. She believes in being unstoppable, but also not stepping on other people. Really, really love that. She said that she learned through this experience to let things go, because there's a lot of stuff that's not going to be in your control, and there's a lot of fans who are going to have all sorts of opinions about you. And so she's had to let a lot of stuff go through this whole experience. They said, why you? And she said, I deserve to become the next Miss Universe Philippines because I share the same commitment of the Miss Universe Philippines organization to bring home the crown to the Philippines. She talked about how when she wants something, she is going to do everything within her power to do it. And I felt that from her. And I like this. I feel like she's going to be the queen, if you select her, to work her butt off. She is going to make the most of this opportunity. Sultan Kurarat. So, oh gosh, again here. So she shared in 2016 that her mother passed. And she also talked about that her dream is still, though, to be a provider for her family. And obviously, if you win Miss Universe Philippines, you're kind of set for life, especially if you do it right, okay? Your life is going to change forever. When they asked her where we should visit, if we visited her in her province, she talked about the Emerald Mountain Ridges, which sound really beautiful. And then they asked why you? And she says, I'm ready for this new role. I have chased crowns before, but I'm ready to take on this job. If you want someone who is easy to work with, who knows how to value time, and someone with other pageant experiences, then you're looking at another Chelsea for Miss Universe. Yes. Yes. Gosh, this is so difficult. I love so many of you. Oh my gosh. Yes, ladies, this is how you answer that question. Like, you tell the judges directly, if you pick me, here's what you get. And if the judges feel like that's what they're looking for in a title holder that year, because it does vary year to year, then you'll be the pick. You'll be the one. But you gotta tell them why we gotta pick you. If we pick you, what do we get? She did that. Clearly. Tigib was really cute. Gosh, there's so many great contestants. She's wearing orange, and she said, "Orange, you glad to see me?" And I was like, stop, you're so cute. I can't handle it. She was so cute, so smiley. I also like that she was one of the few that really talked about her advocacy, the work that she's been doing in her community. It's called Project Pearls, and she was able to help the community by bridging that with her own beauty brand, which was really nice. She also said that she admires Beatrice, and she says, I don't know if you know this or not, but I am also an Air Force reservist. She just graduated. She talked about her family being in the military, mainly her grandfather. She says that she recently graduated and she wanted to be able to give back in service of her country. And then they said, why you? She says, I am a relentless beauty queen. I am someone who doesn't give up on her dreams. I'm taking risks. And then because she's competed before, she says, I've added layers to my life. I started a business powered by my community. I'm an Air Force reservist. I work as a model and a spokesperson. I am a lot of things all at once. And that is the definition of a woman. You can be anyone you want to be. And that is why I should conquer the universe. We have so many winning answers this year, friends. So many winning answers. Knocked it out of the park. I love that she came back and that she says, since the last time I have competed, I have been changed. I've gone to work. I've put in the time and the effort. And I'm ready. I'm ready for this. What's unfortunate is several of you are ready for this, and we can only have one. So the first thing I saw about this interview was her makeup, and I was like, okay, this is a very natural look. And then I was really grateful though that it was quickly addressed that she actually has an eye infection that she's been battling, and that she decided not to wear makeup so that it could hopefully heal before the finals. And yes, that makes so much sense. But what was also nice though, and I think really worked for her advantage, is that the judges comment on how beautiful she is without her makeup, with her fresh face. And she is never a bad thing though, right? She looked stunning. Her not wearing makeup led into this conversation about beauty. And she did mention that beauty is something that she believes is coming from inside, and it's something that really radiates from within. And I was already loving her at the beginning of this interview, and then it just got better and better. She shared that her mom works abroad, and this caused hyper independence within her. And the judges were asking her, well, what would be your message to other kids that are experiencing this? And she's like, I want them to understand that love still transcends distance. It transcends any of those boundaries, and that you're still able to have that love and that connection with your parents, with your family members. Then they asked her why she wants to win, and I liked this answer too. She talked about how she's actually a performer, so she's able to share through her performances about Filipino culture. This is something that she has been doing for years. Then she also talked about how she's had the opportunity to work abroad, and I love that. I feel like when you share things like that with judges, it's very easy for a judge to be like, ooh, okay, so she's independent. We're not gonna have to hold her hand as a title holder. She has been abroad before. She is gonna be quite comfortable in situations that some might find uncomfortable, and it looks like this is a skill that she could use and apply to be a successful title holder, to be a great representative for us. This is the stuff you need to be sharing with judges. Iligan, first of all, very cute. Absolutely loved her entire look. The outfit was fantastic. She had so much personality from the get-go. She was so likable. She just drew you in because of who she is. She shared some amazing things. She talked about how she grew up with siblings but without parents. She learned to be a role model in that way. She says that we have to discipline ourselves in order to survive. And when you don't have guidance, you have to be responsible. They asked her why you should be the next, and she says, I should be the next because I came from a poor family, but I balanced my studies. I was eventually adopted by my guidance counselor. She says she wants people to know that hope and kindness still exist, and that we have the heart to forgive. I was crying in this interview listening to her story, just listening to how she stepped up for her siblings, and then listening to how her efforts were recognized by her guidance counselor, and that her guidance counselor could recognize her character qualities. And that's why that person, that adult, decided to step in and say, you know, I want to support you. I want to be that person for you. I want to choose you as my family. See, this gets me so worked up because it's such a beautiful example of how great humans can actually be. Yes, we can be terrible, but we can also be so kind to one another. And that is so beautiful. I think she has a lovely story, and she would have had my vote. Those are my thoughts. This is really, really tough. These are some incredible interviews that I really encourage you to watch for yourself, especially if you're competing. These women really knocked it out of the park this year. I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed watching this. So don't forget though to check out my preliminary recap for swim and gown if you haven't already, and to tune in as well for my finale recap. I can't wait to share that with you. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you very soon.